Hi, I'm Connie Fuchsa with Foote Title Group, where we know how overwhelming the home buying process can be, and it is our mission and our passion to make it as simple as possible for you, to make sure you're kept in the loop every step of the way, and to ensure that you and your home are protected when you walk away from that closing table. So I wanted to take a few minutes. As I've said to you before, I love it when people ask me questions because then I can share it with everyone who's out there who may have the same questions. So as always, I really encourage you to ask me any questions that you have about property, about real estate, about mortgages. Hey Terry, how are you? Thank you so much for tuning in. So ask me any questions that you have about real estate, mortgages, property, buying homes, buying a piece of property, closing, title insurance, anything that has to do with a piece of property. I don't proclaim to know all the answers, but I certainly have a lot of resources with some great professionals that I can reach out to get information for you. And I am so passionate about making sure you have information that isn't as easily attainable as it should be. So, hey Tommy, how are you tonight? Thanks so much for tuning in. So tonight I wanted to talk for a second about property taxes because this did come to me as a question from a friend of mine who got her property tax bill. And for a minute we're going to talk about property taxes in Maryland because there is a odd nuance in Maryland that's called a homestead tax credit. And in every state it's called something a little different. And in some states, they don't even make you apply for a credit. The process for getting the credits are a little bit different. So I wanted to talk about property taxes for a minute because we're in that area in Maryland and Virginia where property taxes are coming due and those things need to be paid. And since that's where we are licensed to do closings, I want to talk to you about that for a minute. The same nuances probably apply in most of the 50 states with a little bit of a twist, but this will spur a question if you happen to be in another state, not in Maryland or Virginia, to at least ask the question and make sure that you're getting the credit for all of the available things that you might be able to get because of owning a piece of property. So let's talk about property taxes for a second. Property taxes are in every state that we work in are a first lien on a property. And what that means is the property taxes get paid first above anybody else. So even above your mortgage. And if your property taxes are not paid, then the local jurisdiction, the state, the county, can actually sell your property at what they call a tax sale to recuperate their money. So they actually have a higher ranking interest than your mortgage. And so one of the reasons that most mortgage companies will require you maintain an escrow account or a savings account and pay into that with your payments because they are going to pay the property taxes each year out of that amount so they can make sure that the county can never sell that home out from under you and them, more importantly, because they've loaned you a whole lot of money. So that's why the property taxes are escrowed. Now, property taxes are assessed based on what the county and the state have determined the tax rates are and the value of the assessed value of your property. And they'll send people out in the jurisdictions that we work in. They send them out every 3 years to see if you've added anything to your property and to assess the value or determine what the value is. Now, the assessed value is not the same value as you could actually sell your property for, but it's a little bit different value, usually a little bit lower, that they use to determine. They multiply the tax rate that's been voted on by the assessed value, and that's how they determine what your property taxes are every year. So you'll get a tax bill in the jurisdictions we work in July, and in Maryland you have until September 30th to pay them for the first half of the tax year. And if you choose to do it semi-annually, then the next tax bill will come out December 1st and you have until January 1st to pay it. But the thing I wanted to talk about most importantly is in most jurisdictions, but particularly in Maryland, right now this is something that's coming up, is there is a credit that homeowners that actually live in their property can actually apply for. It's called a homestead tax credit. Now, in Maryland, it used to, if when you purchased your property, it was when those documents were recorded, if it was noted that you actually occupy that property as your primary residence, they automatically across the board gave you this credit, which is a reduced amount on your property taxes based on the fact that you live in that property. Because if it's an investment property, they don't give you the credit, and for obvious reasons, they feel like you should get a benefit for being in the property, that being the home that you live in, so you have a little bit lower tax rate than you would if it's an investment property. Several years ago, the state of Maryland changed that rule and said, we're not going to give it to you across the board. We're going to send you out a document, and you have to fill that document out. And if you do, and you send it back to us saying that you own or occupy that property, then we're going to give you this credit on your taxes. Well, coincidentally, what's funny is most people don't know that they have to fill this form out. It usually comes out early in the towards the end of the first quarter of the calendar year. So probably March or April, it comes from the state, and the estate assessment office, and you have to fill out the form and send it back in. And if you don't, they don't give you the credit. Well, when that changed, a lot of people didn't even understand that that had to be done. And so certain people have never even done it. And the reason that it spurred this conversation for me to talk to you is because the person that asked me about it said, well, gosh, we've owned our house for 5 years. And all of a sudden this year I have this big credit on my tax bill. I don't even know what it's for. I mean, I'm going to take it, but why are they giving me a credit? So we started talking, and I actually looked at her bill, and yeah, it's the homestead tax credit. She didn't even remember filling out the form this year, but because she had never filled it out before, she never got the credit before. And they're not going to let you go back and apply to get that credit back because they sent you the form, you should have filled it out, and they send it out each year. So I thought maybe this was a great topic to talk about, because if you're receiving your tax bill, which you probably in Maryland just recently received it, beginning mid-July, and it doesn't have, and you live in that home, and it does not have that homestead tax credit, you need to be calling somebody before you pay that bill. So call your local state Department of Assessments and Taxation and ask for the homestead tax credit form, and they can send it to you. You can fill it out and then tell them they need to recalculate your taxes because you should be getting a credit based on the fact that you live in that property. I know there's similar credits in the Virginia market, but this particular conversation that I had with this particular person was about the credit in Maryland and how you actually have to apply for it now as opposed to it being part of your taxes. So yeah, this is a huge amount of money that you can actually apply for very easily. The fact that you live in your home, if you fill out the form and you send it back, then it'll make your taxes go down. And hence, since in most cases, most people's taxes are in their mortgage payment, then it will actually make your mortgage payment go down eventually. Now, it won't go down initially because the lender calculates for the whole year what your tax bill is, based on the bill that actually came in that they need to pay and how much they should collect all year. And then at the end of the year, they settle everything up, and then they determine if they should increase your escrow account, which means they would increase your payment, or would they reduce your escrow payment required amount and in fact reduce what your monthly payment is. So you won't see the credit as far as your mortgage payment until the following year, but it's your money. So just because you pay it into an escrow account doesn't mean that someone actually keeps it. The lender's holding on to it to make sure that that bill's paid, and they have to settle that stuff up for you every year to make sure that they're collecting the right amount and you're paying the correct amount. Terry, I need to make sure my son has gotten this credit. Thanks. Awesome. Yes, you do, because anyone that lives in the state of Maryland has to fill out this form, and you need to make sure that they're getting the proper credits. And it's crazy because here's a friend of mine who should have gotten the information initially when the tax bills first came out from when she originally bought the property, and that didn't happen. So at closing in our office, we actually talk about it and get you the information so you can apply for that right away so that there's no question. But not everybody is so forward thinking about that for you. And so I'm bringing this up so you can make sure that your family, friends, people that you know are protected. And you know, we're having this conversation. One thing I love is that you're in asking questions. Thank you, Terry, so much for your question. Thanks, Tommy, for tuning in. And anybody else that's listening either live or on a recording, please share this information, because all the information I try to provide you guys is because there's either questions that someone's asked me, which means somebody else has probably got the same question, or it's things that we've seen at the closing table that people have questions about. So we love to help you and provide information, and I want to be a resource to be able to do that. So please ask the questions, but also please share this video, because maybe it'll help somebody else in your family or one of your friends or somebody you know. So again, I'm Connie Fuchsia with Foote Title Group. We have a referral program, so if you refer your family and friends and they do a closing with us, you'll get a $50 Lowe's gift card as long as they tell us about it. We want to make sure that your home closing is simple. You get all the information you need, and because of that, we have lots of resources on our website, including our sample closing docs book, which we've put together. That's about 50 of the most generic documents that you will see at closing. They may vary a little bit because every lender has a little bit different spin on their documents, but traditionally they're basically the same, and we have those on our website. So any of your clients or our MVPs, if you happen to be an MVP, which is the most valuable part of closing, which is our customers, if you have questions or you want to review those documents in advance because that fishbowl you sit in at closing makes it a little difficult, please go on our website, www.footetitlegroup.com. Go into the resources and you'll find it there, sample closing docs. We also have a home buyer's guide, a home seller's guide, checklists on what to do for closing, planning your move, and all of those types of things, because we love being a resource to try to help you make sure you get all the information you need to have a smooth and simple closing. So again, I'm Connie Fuchsia with Foote Title Group. I thank you all so much for tuning in, and those of you that are watching this as a replay, please, please, please ask any questions or let me know any concerns that you have, and share so everybody else can get this valuable information. Hope you guys have an awesome Wednesday evening. I look forward to talking to you again soon, and I'm Connie Fuchsia with Foote Title Group, because your home closing should be the simple part. You guys have a great evening, and remember to make the choice, because you legally have the choice to who does your home closing. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.